Velkommen til. Du skal til at høre en prædiken fra kirken i Kulturcentret. Vi har gjort os umage, og jeg håber, at du enten bliver udfordret eller inspireret. God fornøjelse.
I'm frightened, I'm tired, I trade my soul for a violet. Everything in blue, this is all I see. Beautiful visions of you and me. In a dream far away, the ocean's mixed emotions, and I try to know them. I really don't know where we belong, but being with you makes me strong. This is so poetic. I'm so impressed that they wrote that. I love it.
Det er så poetisk, og jeg er virkelig, virkelig imponeret over, at de har skrevet det her.
And it really reveals so much about the emotional and the spiritual state of the main characters.
Og det viser virkelig, virkelig meget om den følelsesmæssige og åndelige tilstand, som hovedkarakteren befinder sig i.
Fear,
Frygt,
loneliness,
ensomhed,
but also hope about being together again.
men også håbet om, at man skal finde sammen igen.
Hope about fellowship,
Håbet om at få et fællesskab,
community.
om at få et broderskab.
You know, I love art.
Jeg elsker kunstarterne.
I love poetry,
Jeg elsker poesi,
literature,
litteratur,
theater.
teater.
Maybe because it reveals so much about what it is and the complexity of being a human being.
Måske fordi det faktisk fortæller lidt om den kompleksitet, som det er at være menneske.
All these emotions and sensations
Alle de her følelser og sanser,
that God has built into us
som Gud han har lagt i os,
so that we can navigate,
sådan så vi kan navigere,
so that we can grow,
sådan så vi kan vokse,
and so that we can make choices so that we can thrive in this life that He so graciously gave
og
us.
sådan så at vi kan foretage valg, der gør, at vi kan trives i det liv, som han har givet os ud af hans allerstørste nåde.
And sometimes when we confront ourselves in the middle of our circumstances,
Og nogle gange, når vi befinder os midt i omstændigheder,
in the middle of our human condition,
midt i vores menneskelige tilstand,
it can be so provocative.
så kan det faktisk næsten være provokerende.
It can be so revealing.
Det kan være så afslørende.
It can even be life-changing.
Det kan være livsforvandlende.
So here we are, church,
Så nu er vi her, kirke.
right in the middle of our different circumstances.
Lige midt i alle vores forskellige omstændigheder.
Each of us in the middle of different seasons.
Hver af os midt i forskellige sæsoner.
Some of the families here, I can imagine that you had so much on your plate this morning,
Og jeg kan forestille mig, at nogle af de familier, som er her, har haft rigtig, rigtig meget på tallerkenen her for
that the
morgenen.
parents actually first now got to sit down and
At det her det er første gang, at forældrene rent faktisk kan sætte sig ned og udånde.
some of you might have had time this morning to sit down with your friends in Cafe Kent and have a cup of coffee and talk about the last week.
Og nogle af jer har måske haft mulighed for at sætte jer ned med nogle venner og drikke en kop kaffe og tale om den sidste uge, I har haft.
And there's some of us here that have physical conditions that made it very challenging to get here this morning.
Og så er der nogle af os, som faktisk er i en fysisk tilstand, der har gjort det svært for os at komme her til morgen.
I know that my mom, she's on oxygen because she has a lung disease.
Min mor, hun får ilt, fordi hun har en lungesygdom.
So for her to get out the door and go somewhere, there's a long process she has to go through.
Så bare for, at hun kan gå ud af døren, så er der en lang proces, hun bliver nødt til at gå igennem.
But she gets out the door.
Men hun kommer stadig ud af døren.
It takes a lot of determination,
Det tager en masse beslutsomhed,
but she does it.
men hun gør det alligevel.
So congratulations, guys, we're here.
Så tillykke, venner, nu er vi her.
We made it here today.
Vi klarede det, og vi er
How
her.
wonderful.
Det er fantastisk.
So, yeah, it's pretty incredible to me.
Det er faktisk ret fantastisk for mig.
Because if we think about it and we assume that God knows our circumstances,
Fordi hvis vi formoder, at Gud han kender til vores omstændigheder,
then if God asked each of us today, what are you doing here?
så hvis Gud han spørger hver enkelt af os, hvad er det egentlig, vi laver her i dag?
What are you doing here today, Amy?
Hvad er det, du laver her i dag, Amy?
I don't imagine that he's asking of like a chain of events, what happened this morning in order for you to get here.
Så kan det være, at han spørger til den begivenhedsrække, som har ledt til, at vi er her.
I don't imagine that he needs a resume of my life.
Og det er ikke, fordi han skal have et resumé af hele mit liv.
Well, I moved to Denmark when I was 18.
At jeg flyttede til Danmark, da jeg var
I got
18.
married to a Dane,
At jeg blev gift med en
went to
dansker.
school,
At jeg gik på universitetet.
looked for a faith community.
At jeg ledte efter et
I'm here every Sunday.
trosfællesskab, jeg har hver søndag.
But actually, I think that God is asking us one of the most intimate questions that we possibly could be asked.
Men jeg tror, at Gud han stiller os en af de spørgsmål, som er mest intime og som går tættest på.
What are you doing here today?
Hvad laver du her i dag?
It's not like walking into an American grocery store, if you tried that before.
Og det er ikke ligesom at gå ind i et amerikansk supermarked, hvis I prøvede det før.
And at the check out, the person asks you, so how you doing?
Og så ved kassen, så spørger alle folk altid, hvordan går det?
They're not really looking for an in-depth explanation.
Det er ikke fordi, at de leder efter en lang forklaring.
Maybe some of you have tried to give that before.
Måske
Doesn't
har I
really work.
prøvet at give det før.
But God actually asked the prophet Elijah that question.
Men Gud, han spurgte profeten, eller stillede profeten Elias præcis det spørgsmål.
What are you doing here? What are you doing, Elijah?
Hvad laver du her, Elias? Hvad er det, du laver?
And what happened that God asked Elijah this question?
Og hvad var det, der ledte til, at Gud stillede Elias det spørgsmål?
We found Elijah hiding in the middle of a cave.
Og når vi kigger i historien, så kan vi se, at Elias han gemte sig i en hule.
And before he got to that point, he had fallen asleep under a juniper tree in the middle of the wilderness, collapsed of exhaustion.
Og før han nåede til det punkt, så var han faldet i søvn under et enebærtræ midt ude i ødemarken, fordi han var fuldstændig kollapset af udmattelse.
And God found him there.
Og Gud han fandt ham lige der.
I think it's important to think about what chain of events brought this courageous and brave prophet into this point in time in his life.
Jeg tror, det er vigtigt at stille sig selv det spørgsmål, hvad var det for nogle begivenheder, der ledte til, at den her modige profet befandt sig der, hvor han befandt sig?
What were his circumstances?
Hvad var hans omstændigheder?
Well, let's go back a little bit and take a look at this.
Lad os kigge lidt tilbage i teksten og se på det.
So yes, Elijah was a brave and courageous prophet, like I said.
Elias var en modig profet.
He taught many people about God.
Han underviste rigtig, rigtig mange forskellige mennesker om Gud.
He confronted the evil rulers of the time.
Han stod ansigt til ansigt med de onde herskere, der fandtes.
He confronted King Ahab
Han konfronterede kong Ahab.
and said, if the people don't turn against Baal and to look to God, the almighty and living God, then there's going to come drought and there's going to come famine into this land.
Og han sagde, at hvis folket ikke vender sig væk fra at tilbede Baal, så skal der komme tørke og hungersnød over det her land.
King Ahab actually looked at him and said, you know, Moses said that and it hasn't happened, so.
Og kong Ahab sagde til ham, du ved, Moses sagde også det samme, og det er stadig ikke sket.
But Elijah responded to that by saying, that's because God was patient with you.
Men Elias svarede og sagde, det var fordi Gud udviste sin tålmodighed over for jer.
And there did come drought,
Og tørken kom,
and there did come famine.
og hungersnøden kom.
I don't know if any of you think it's comfortable having crucial conversations.
Jeg ved ikke, om I måske synes, at det er komfortabelt at have de her helt afgørende samtaler.
Or when you have to confront various situations.
Eller når I bliver nødt til at konfrontere forskellige situationer.
But personally, when I'm on my way to have these kind of conversations,
Men sådan helt personligt, når jeg er på vej til at have de her samtaler,
I get kind of butterflies in my stomach. I'm a bit nervous.
så får jeg sommerfugle i maven, og jeg kan mærke, at jeg begynder at blive nervøs.
I don't think it would be an understatement to say that butterflies in Elijah's stomach probably doesn't fit it.
Og jeg tror måske ikke, at jeg overdriver, hvis jeg siger, at sommerfugle i maven var måske ikke det, der helt passede til Elias' situation.
King Ahab and his wife Jezebel had been slaughtering the prophets of God.
Kongen Ahab og hans kone Jezebel havde slagtet Guds profeter.
So these were dangerous people.
Så det her, det var altså farlige mennesker.
But Elijah was brave and he confronted them.
Men Elias, han var modig, og han konfronterede dem stadigvæk.
As a matter of fact, the prophets of God were being persecuted in such a degree that they were hiding in the caves.
Og faktisk så var det sådan, at Guds profeter blev faktisk forfulgt i sådan en grad, at de var begyndt at gemme sig i hulerne.
King Ahab had allowed his wife to slaughter God's prophets.
Kong Ahab havde tilladt hans kone at slagte Guds profeter.
So God sent Elijah to stop this.
Så Gud sendte Elias ud for at stoppe det her.
And so Elijah, he made a challenge against Baal and his followers
Så Elias, han udfordrede Baal og Baals følgere,
to show who was the almighty living God.
at de skulle vise, hvem den almægtige levende Gud var.
Well, obviously the priest of Baal failed.
Baals præsten fejlede,
And they were killed by the people. There's a lot of slaughtering and killing in this story.
og de blev dræbt af folket. Der er faktisk ret mange, der bliver dræbt i den her historie.
And now Queen Jezebel, she's so angry at Elijah
Og dronning Jezebel blev så sindssygt sur på Elias,
because now he has broken down her religious system.
fordi han havde nedbrudt hele hendes religiøse tankegang og system.
So she sends her men to kill Elijah.
Så hun sender hendes mænd ud for at dræbe Elias.
And now he's on the run,
Og nu er han på flugt.
running for his life
Han flygter for livet,
in the middle of the wilderness.
midt ude i ødemarken.
So our question, how did Elijah, this brave and courageous prophet,
Så mit spørgsmål er egentlig, hvordan kan den her modige profet Elias,
get to a state where he collapses in the middle of the wilderness and needs to be tended to by an angel of God.
Nå til et punkt, hvor han kollapser midt ude i ødemarken, og det ender med, at Guds engel må tage sig af ham.
The angel brings him food and tells him, you need to rest, you need to eat, because you cannot make this journey without doing these things.
Englen kommer med mad og siger til ham, du bliver nødt til at hvile dig, du bliver nødt til at få noget søvn, fordi du kan ikke fortsætte den her rejse uden at tage vare på dig selv.
Apparently this angel food was really good because it lasted for many, many days.
Åbenbart så det her englemad var virkelig, virkelig godt, fordi det varede i rigtig mange dage.
And he made it all the way to Mount Horeb.
Og han klarede det helt til Horebs bjerg.
This is the mountain where Moses received the 10 commandments.
Det er det bjerg, hvor på Moses modtog de 10.
On that mountain he hid within a cave.
Og op på det bjerg, der gemte han sig i en hule.
And how did he get to this state?
Og hvordan nåede han til det punkt?
Because Elijah was a real human being.
Fordi Elias var et virkeligt menneske.
He was an authentic person.
Han var et autentisk menneske.
He had emotional needs.
Han havde følelsesmæssige behov.
He had physical needs.
Han havde fysiske behov.
He had spiritual needs.
Han havde åndelige behov.
And how did God meet him? How did God respond to this when he found Elijah in this cave as he did?
Og hvordan mødte Gud ham? Hvordan var det Gud responderede, da han fandt Elias i den her hule?
Let's look at 1 Kings chapter 19.
Lad os se på 1. kongebog, kapitel 19,
Verse 9
vers 9
through 15.
til 15.
The Danish text will be on the screen.
Den danske tekst står på skærmen.
There he went into a cave and spent the night. And the word of the Lord came to him. What are you doing here, Elijah? He replied, I've been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, broken down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me. The Lord said, come out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? He replied, I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, broken down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I'm the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too. The Lord said to him, go back the way you came, and go to the desert of Damascus. And then it goes on where God directs him and tells what he can do.
Og så fortsætter det med, at Gud vejleder ham og egentlig fortæller ham, hvad det er, han kan gøre.
God speaks to him, according to here, with a gentle whisper.
Gud han taler til ham med en stille hvisken.
In the King James Version, it's called a still small voice.
I King James versionen af Bibelen, der står der en stille stemme.
And he asked Elijah 2 times, what are you doing here, Elijah?
Og han spørger Elias 2 gange, hvad er det, du laver her, Elias?
I don't think that God needed to verify the story.
Jeg tror ikke, Gud havde brug for at få bekræftet historien.
But Elijah got to unburden himself before the almighty living God.
Men foran den almægtige levende Gud kunne Elias lægge hans byrder ned.
God listened to him.
Gud han lyttede til ham.
He listened to his circumstances.
Han lyttede til hans omstændigheder.
He heard Elijah tell about his fear of being the only prophet left.
Han lyttede til, da Elias fortalte om den frygt, han havde for at være den eneste profet, der var tilbage.
He heard about the feelings that Elijah had about all the lies and all of the murder and everything that was going on under King Ahab.
Han hørte om alle de mord, alle de løgner og alt det, som skete under kong Ahab.
So God listened to Elijah.
Så Gud lyttede til Elias.
He met him right there where he was.
Han mødte ham lige der, hvor han var.
But he didn't leave him there.
Men han efterlod ham ikke der.
And that's the most, for me, one of the most amazing things with having a present living God.
Og det er en af de mest fantastiske ting ved at have en levende, nærværende Gud.
Who knows that we have a future.
Som ved, at vi har en fremtid.
Who knows that we have a purpose.
Som ved, at vi har et formål.
And the almighty living God told Elijah, what is going to happen next.
Og den almægtige levende Gud fortalte Elias, hvad der skulle.
Elijah, there are people outside of this cave
Elias, der er folk uden for den her hule,
who need you.
som har brug for dig.
Your life is important.
Dit liv er vigtigt.
You have it tomorrow.
Du har et i morgen.
Step out
Træd
of
ud
the cave and step into your purpose.
af hulen og ind i dit formål.
The Apostle Paul, he describes this kind of relationship that we can have with God.
Apostlen Paulus, han beskriver det slags forhold, som vi kan have til Gud.
In the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 15,
I Romerbrevet kapitel 8, vers 15,
he tells us,
så siger han,
and this will also be up on the
og
screen
det kommer også til at stå på
in
skærmen.
Danish and English. For you did not receive a spirit that makes you a slave again to fear, but you received the spirit of sonship. And by him we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Amen.
Amen.
Yes. So as we sit here today,
Så grunden til, at vi er her i dag,
if we hear God asking us, why are you here? What are you doing here?
hvis vi hører Gud stille os det spørgsmål, hvad laver du her?
He's ready to meet you right where you are.
Så er han klar til at møde dig lige der, hvor du er.
And he loves you exactly as you are.
Og han elsker dig præcis, som du er.
And as his children, you have a right to call on him, Abba, Father.
Og som hans barn har du ret til at kalde ud til ham, Abba, Fader.
So as we conclude,
Så nu her ved slutningen,
if any of you are in circumstances today
hvis der er nogen af jer, der befinder jer i omstændigheder,
where you experience this sense of desperation,
hvor I kan mærke den her desperation,
where you feel isolated,
hvor I føler jer isoleret,
know that he is with you.
så skal I vide, at han er med jer.
Tak fordi du så med. Vil du vide mere, så har vi en Facebook-side, vi har også en hjemmeside, og du er mere end hjertelig velkommen til at besøge os i Nordvest på Drejervej nummer 15.